Mail a letter to the spot where I'm sitting right now, here in Algiers Point, New Orleans. Send it from any other nation on the globe, and to ensure delivery, you would have to end the address with New Orleans, Louisiana 70114, USA. A city in a state, one of the 50 states in the United States of America, USA. Only once you spend some time here, once you talk to the folks who live and work here, or even to the journalists who report on what happens here, you quickly hear that some folks don't merely feel like second-class citizens. They sometimes don't feel much like they are treated as citizens at all. This is what legendary New Orleans broadcaster Garland Robinette told us last night.
I called us the untied state of America. Kind of dyslexic cutaway from America. I've never seen anything like it. From day one, helicopter after helicopter after helicopter. Superdome has 2 heliports. Yeah. Convention Center has an open lot. I spent months in a place in Vietnam where you could barely walk and they could land a helicopter. In 5 days, President of the United States or nobody else could fly in water or food to people that were dying. And now BP, with the oil spill, that took them a while to get going, and we still got people wondering about how they're going to survive on the coast. It's kind of like we're not part of the United States.
It's kind of like we're not part of the United States. Said not in the days and weeks after the levees broke, but 5 years later, when so much has supposedly been fixed. 5 years on from the floods, talking to people here on this trip, that same sentiment about New Orleans' place in America, it keeps coming up.
We need to think about wetlands, that they're not just some boutique thing for people who like swamps. They play a crucial role in our country. This area is not just Louisiana's paradise. As somebody said to, as one of the coastal scientists, Denise Reed from the University of New Orleans said, she said, there are little pieces of New York and Ohio and Wyoming, because all of this, all the silt from these states come down, and this is where it stops. Yeah. And it's something that belongs to all of us, and we all need to pay attention, and we should never turn our backs on it.
We should never turn our backs on it. I did not expect this to be the theme of this reporting trip. Maybe it's because we're fighting 2 wars and all our foreign policy talk is about what America is capable of doing in another country. Maybe that calls the question of what it is that we are capable of doing in our country, here.
This is the razor's edge of problems that exist everywhere in America. And to the extent that they remain unresolved in New Orleans, I think that there's very little hope that they're going to be resolved elsewhere. So while New Orleans does represent this magnification of these problems, you know, most places don't have 60 murders per 100,000 residents. New York, for instance, has 6. Yeah. But to the extent that New Orleans does, and that we're unable to reform those issues, we're not unable to make progress on those points, my feeling is that Americans should be concerned, not just for New Orleans, but if we're unable to do this here, then it's going to come to a neighborhood near them.
That's right. Remember New Orleans, part of America?
Yeah.
No, complicated.
It's a good part of America.
It's exactly right. A lot of the anniversary talk is resiliency talk. The good people of the Gulf doing it for themselves. We visited the Common Ground Health Clinic while we were here in Algiers, which famously was started here right after the storm by locals and by street medics who were used to doing first aid for people injured in protests. They got medicine donated, volunteer nurses and doctors and medics and therapists from all over. They did startup life-saving work when the big infrastructure collapsed. And they are still here, 5 years on, serving the people. Bootstrap, self-sufficiency, scrappiness. But you know what? This is a country, not a strung-together system of well-intentioned startups. A city cannot live on volunteer anarchist health clinics alone. Common Ground, like other clinics, got government grants to expand and to do more, and that is good and right. Government needs to work. We're not getting rid of it, I'm sorry. It is how we express national commitment when part of our beloved country needs it. We need individual scrappiness and resiliency, but ultimately, we need to commit, because we are in this together. United States. Good night.